does one race negate everything else though?
But
Like for me, I
yeah,
think this happens a lot. I feel like it's like someone will have a really, really long bad stint and, will go crazy and, really go in on them.
mm.
They'll have one good race and then we're like, let's take it all back. We love that person again.
Verstappen cheated literally at nearly every single one. By the way, can I just say that? Like, literally, he is so
What does
unsportsmanlike.
that say about him as a driver then?
Do you know what I'm saying? I'm just like, yo, could you not just play by the rules?
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to On the Chicane. You are here today with me, Marium, and my co host, Paris, and we're going to be talking everything Styrian Grand Prix this weekend. Lots to discuss. The race itself, there's some talking points, lots to discuss about what's happened this whole weekend, and also we can comment on Red Bull's success because Max Verstappen is just flying. But yeah, let's get to it. And I think let's start with quali.
Yeah, I mean, let's look at quali kind of as a whole. So obviously on Friday you had Bottas with his consecutive weekend of bad luck for this season. It seems to just be a common feature of his race year. And he was going through a new starting setup where he would be leaving the pits in second gear, and then he ended up spinning into the McLaren pits. So that meant that he ended up with a 3-place grid penalty, and during qualifying on Saturday, he would have to pull out literally like a mega qualifying, ending up in pole or a really good high position in order to maintain a good position for the start of the race. So I think that kind of like just set the tone of his weekend a little bit, and or just like his year. But other than that, Sonoda also ended up with a 3-place grid penalty, and I think everybody else was pretty cool during most of qualifying, with Verstappen kind of taking that pole position. So he's had a wicked weekend, to be honest. I think Red Bull are generally on form at the moment. Sad to say. But yeah, I mean, he did really well. Hamilton was pipped to the post by Bottas, who ended up coming in second in qualifying, and then Hamilton was third. You had literally Norris up there in fourth, which I thought was pretty cool. So I'm happy to see the McLaren of Norris doing really well. And then Perez was fifth, and Gasly was sixth. So, generally the top five, top six were kind of what we've been seeing a lot like this year. You've got Gasly and Norris up there with the top three teams. But I think the race then switched up a little bit, with the start of the race, Gasly ending up out within the first two laps. So not really good there. But today, how did you feel? How was the race for you?
Um, yeah, I mean, I was gutted for Gasly, obviously. We all know that I love Gasly. Um, so yeah, that was a shame to see. And obviously, also as a huge Ferrari fan, I was a bit kind of questioning obviously what Leclerc's playing at because not only did he have that little mishap with Gasly, he also then had another very similar situation with Alonso twice. And
He
yeah,
pretty much was doing like bumper cars and hitting half of the
yeah,
the
a
track
little
as
bit.
he was going up today.
And also
Um,
as well, actually.
yeah, Raikkonen,
Um,
he took off a lot of front end plates today.
yeah, he did. But luckily he still managed to actually do quite well in the race, as did Sainz. So
Mm.
Ferrari themselves are really kind of showing their form, and I think they're kind of getting into the swing of things. Um, Norris also had a good race. I was a little bit kind of gutted for Perez, where he kind of, had that battle going with Bottas. Unfortunately, Bottas kind of came out on top.
Mhm.
But the race itself, I feel like it was a pretty steady race.
Yeah. I
there
think
were
there
lots.
was nothing crazy happened, right? Like there was no rain, there was no safety cars, there was no crashes. So in that sense, but I think it was, to me, it was still a very interesting race because I feel like it really showed the power of the Red Bulls today. Like it is a clear sign that they are edging ahead of Mercedes and kind of taking off on their own league, similar to what Mercedes has done in past years. So, today Lewis said that, he was trying to compete and he just couldn't keep up. And I think that tends to be usually the other way around. So I think it was an interesting race in that sense where we can really see how well the Red Bulls are performing.
Yeah, I mean, I think the pace of Verstappen's car today was just unreal. He broke the record for the biggest gap between winning and second place at this track today. I think Hamilton broke the record with it last year at like 13 point something seconds. And this year it was like 15 seconds or something. So Hamilton was really far behind. And even when Verstappen crossed the finish line, did you see how he slowed right
That
down?
was rude. I'm not even.
It was so rude. I was like,
I was trying to think to
that is
myself, like, has Hamilton
ridiculous.
done this before? Like, have people done this before? Like, I don't know. I just thought that was so rude. He was like, not even a photo finish. He was like more like, hold on, let me stop and take a pose so that you guys can really see
Yeah.
me passing this finish line right now. You don't need to know that we've won. I was just like, wow, damn, that one hurt.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah,
know.
I did notice that. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so that happened. um, yeah, Verstappen had incredible pace, but as did Perez, I think.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, just wasn't quite enough in the end.
And do you know what? Like, just sticking on that point for a moment, I don't even think that it wasn't enough. Like, had he had one lap more, I don't even think 2 laps. I think had he had one more lap, he would have overtaken Bottas because he was literally
Actually, yeah, they were
half
really
a
close.
second.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was half a second behind him, and just one or two more DRS zones, he would have definitely overtaken him. I think
yeah,
his race sadly kind of got a bit messed up because of that long pit stop early in the race.
yeah.
Because if he hadn't have done
Anyway.
that, he would have stayed in third position, right? So I think, but I think that's Red Bull very rarely makes mistakes on pit stops. So I think for them, it wasn't necessarily a massive problem. They're still ahead in the constructors' championships. Like it didn't cause any drastic issues, and I don't think they'll make that mistake again anytime soon. But just on a like driver basis, I definitely think he would have been in third position.
Yeah, probably. That is a very good point. It was so close between the two of them. And I
Yeah,
love that Perez gave it his all right up into the finish line. So
yeah.
yeah, props to him.
Did you see?
Um,
Did you see his son in the garages over the weekend? That was the cutest thing ever. Like with his little headphones and stuff on, driving his car. Well, not actually driving the F1 car because he's like 4 years
can you?
old, but like
Yeah.
sitting in the cockpit, which was really nice. Just to stay on Bottas while we're here, though. So obviously he had the grid penalty at the beginning of the weekend, and I just like wondering what you think about our treatment of Bottas. Maybe not specifically me and you, but just general fans, like how we've been approaching Bottas and his bad luck this year. Do you think we've been too hard on him? Because I mean, like he did come second in quali today. He still came third on the podium. Like he's had a really difficult start to the year, but he is performing well, and everybody seems to be out for his neck and ready for his seat to go straight to Russell.
Does one race negate everything else though?
But
Like for
like,
me, I
yeah,
think this happens a lot. I feel like it's like someone will have a really, really long bad stint and, will go crazy and, really go in on them. They'll have one good race and then we're like, let's take it all back. We love that person again. And then the next time, it's kind of you have to see how it kind of plays out from here on. Like, yes, Bottas has had a really good weekend. And I think if he can keep it up next weekend again on the same track, and then after that in Silverstone, and then after that in Hungary, then yeah, maybe we can all kind of eat our words a bit. But I think if he kind of goes back to being the Bottas that we've all been complaining about,
yeah,
I don't think there's anything for us to take back really. I think you know, maybe he's just had one of those good weekends. But it's like we were discussing it before we started recording, and you mentioned that Hamilton helped him with his setup this weekend.
He did,
So
yeah.
I don't know, does that have something to like say for itself? Or, you know, that's Hamilton kind of helping him out a bit, which is nice because obviously they're teammates.
Mm-hmm.
And you also touched upon the point that, like, you know, we're now seeing a bit more of like a team kind of vibe and a team
Yeah,
unit in Mercedes as opposed to each driver for themselves. And is
definitely.
that because of the fact that they are actually now struggling? Like,
I
I don't
think it
know.
is. Like I think, and I also feel like it's a bit of a response to Red Bull because, Red Bull have been searching for this perfect second driver, as everybody keeps saying, and they found that in Perez. And what that means is they're able to strategize. They're able to tag team. Like today, we almost had like a ham sandwich with Verstappen in front of Hamilton in front behind, like with Perez behind. So you would have had the two Red Bulls basically attacking the Mercedes, hopefully with Bottas there to back him up. But if Bottas is in that mentality of I'm running my own race, my setup is my setup, I'm doing my own thing and I don't care about Hamilton, then they can't tag team in the same kind of way. And I think right now Mercedes are seeing the benefits of doing the tag team the way that Verstappen and Perez are doing at the moment. And I wouldn't be surprised if words have been had, just not like stern words, but like, come on, guys, let's get it together. Let's make sure we're a team, help each other out where we can. Don't let whatever's being said in the media get to you, kind of thing. And let's make everything work for the team because, like you said, Lewis was helping Bottas this weekend with his setup, helping him find a good setup. So where Lewis was gaining pace, then Bottas could also gain pace, and it did seem to help because he ended up in Q2. I mean, in P2, in Q3. So I don't know. Like, I think Mercedes are going to have to pull every single trick out of the bag over the next few weeks, and one of those tricks is to make sure that you have a good, two good teammates.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it'll be interesting to see if the because it's always quite tricky when you've got two races back to back in the same place because you're like, is it just going to be a repeat of what happened last weekend?
Yeah.
And obviously Hamilton has got a 15-second gap to make up between where he finished today and pole.
Yeah.
So it's like they've got 4, 5, 6 days to do that. Yeah, I think it's quite interesting. So next week, I think will tell us a lot about how Mercedes are actually doing and how they're reacting to what's going on around them, because I think it's kind of a good thing that we're seeing a race in the same track, because it's kind of like we're going back to sort of testing almost, where they can kind of make adaptations and change things where they need to try and perform on that track. But obviously after that we have got Silverstone, which is going to be intense because it's Hamilton and Verstappen's currently on top, so that's going to be really interesting actually. I think.
Literally, I'm sure there's going to be boos. I remember when Vettel was like leading one year, and like, every single time he come around, be like, boo, and then Hamilton will come around and be like, yay!
Honestly, 2018, I was the only Ferrari fan sat in a grandstand full of Mercedes fans, and I remember the amount of people that were booing for Vettel every time he drove past, and I was cheering so loudly. I think I've got a video from when he crossed the finish line, like Vettel, he won the race, and I was like screaming because I was obviously so happy, and everyone around me was just staring at me like, shut the hell up. Like, Hamilton's just lost, why are you happy? Obviously I was there in my red gear and everything, but yeah, I love it.
So I think, like you said, the next few weekends are going to be crucial for Mercedes. How can they make up this deficit? They said that they're losing out time on the straight. So is it wing positions? Is it downforce? Like, what can they do to just claw back some of this time? Because, for example, today they couldn't do the undercut. Like, similar to Paul Ricard last week, the undercut was quite powerful here, and they weren't able to do it because they weren't close enough to Verstappen. Where, if they did the undercut, he'd just do a pit stop as well, and it wouldn't have made any difference. So they need to do something so that they can stay super close to Verstappen, as Lewis was doing a few races back. Like he was still quite close. So I feel like Red Bull are genuinely like pulling away, like their performance is increasing and Mercedes are stagnating. So they need to like find a way to suit this thing up and get back in there, and not by restrictions with the FIA. So another thing that's been happening this week is like they've been talking about the FIA putting, not necessarily putting more restrictions on pit stops, but kind of checking the regulations and enforcing them when it comes to pit stops, and making sure that that the teams are not relying too heavily on automated aids to help them with their pit stops, and that there's a lot more human error that can take place, because if you're going for a human reaction time, it's a bit slower, rather than obviously automated reaction times, which are split second. And everybody is obviously concerned that this is going to reduce the time of the pit stops and reduce just, that amazing performance of a pit stop, of who can do it the fastest and how fast can they do it. So what do you think, like, if they come in, the FIA, and regulate these pit stops a bit more, is that good for the sport, good for safety? Or, well, obviously we always want everything to be good for safety, but is that good for the sport or bad for the sport? What do you think?
I don't want to say if it's good or bad or not, but for me, I'm kind of a bit like, it doesn't make sense. Because if you're saying you want a bit more of a human element, on the one hand, on a personal level, I'm so against robots taking over the world, I'm like, yeah, let's keep the humans in, let's keep all the humans in for the jobs. We don't want robots taking over our jobs. That being said, obviously, in regards to a pit stop, if we're actually applying the right knowledge here, in regards to a pit stop, it is humans using these machines to then, conduct the pit stop. For me, it doesn't make sense to take out technology from that pit stop, because Formula One in itself is an innovator in terms of technology, and it's a forward-thinking sport that then trickles down to other industries, not just in cars, but also you've got the medical field where they can help out. You've got like space exploration, where all these technologies that are used in Formula One are then used elsewhere. So in that sense, for me to hear the words, we want to take out the like automation and make it a bit more human, kind of doesn't make sense, because I'm like, Formula One is a whole machine oriented kind of sport. So
I agree.
Where is that kind of coming from? And then also, like, to me, it just seems like you're taking a step back a little bit, because it's like, I'm not saying we need to have more automated pit stops or anything. I actually think they're fine as they are.
Exactly.
And I don't see why we need to change anything. I don't see why they need to be regulated more. I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah.
No, I completely agree. I mean, I think leave the pit stops the way they are. If everybody says that they're doing the right thing, there should be no change. And I don't really understand why this has come up at the moment. Do you know what I mean? Like, is there another agenda to this? Like, is there something high level that we're going to find out later on down the line when we look back and we see the outcomes of whatever comes of this? Because it just seems like such a weird thing. Like, everybody loves the pit stops the way they are. We love this, to see the battle between the two teams, especially like when two cars come in the pits at the exact same time, seeing the team that can perform the best and get their car out. Like that's the thing that makes the sport what it is, that amazing element to it. So, and then like you said, just like the general technological advances and benefits, I completely agree. I think just leave them as they are. Don't touch them. Don't change the parts of the sport that are really good. Continue to tinker with the other bits that you think are like bad or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Obviously, we've got the whole new season coming up next year with a whole new like changes and everything. So maybe they can do something to improve pit stops then. I don't think a mid-season change or anything would be wise. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me.
Not at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, back to the race that actually happened today. We had some super overtakes by Leclerc as we said at the beginning, and Norris was also doing really well. Comparing Norris to Ricciardo again, something's not really going right there for Ricciardo.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say about that. Like, I was talking to my cousin about it yesterday, and we were watching. I think it was quali. Yeah, we were watching quali, and like Norris was putting in lap times where he was coming out third, and Ricciardo was like 16th, 15th. Yep. And you're like, how is that actually possible?
Especially considering when he was doing quite well like last week in the race. So I just wonder like what's going on there. And I think going back to what I was saying a couple of weeks ago, where I feel like we're just going to see this for a while, and we just have to get used to it and let him kind of work out those kinks. Yeah. But then on the other hand, you do have Norris, who is like up there, literal best of the rest. Even I think he's fourth in the championships now at the moment, so he's overtaken Bottas. So you've got like Verstappen, Hamilton, Perez, and then Norris.
Yeah,
he's doing really good.
He is. I mean, good for him, I guess. He's showing that he's. I don't know. I'm kind of like. I was a huge fanboy for Norris, like in his first like 2 seasons.
What changed that?
Nothing really. I'm just a bit bored.
Okay.
Like, he's doing really well, don't get me wrong, and I am happy for him, but I think generally speaking, I don't know. Let's just see how the rest of the season goes. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Side note question for you, because that just prompted me to think of something. So you're a Ferrari fan in general.
Yeah.
It's difficult to be a Ferrari fan at the moment. In Formula One, do you think people should more stick with the driver or with the car? What's your preference and why?
I don't know. That's hard to say, because generally speaking, I'm a big Vettel fan, and then I'm a big Ferrari fan. Yeah. So when Ferrari are struggling, it's difficult, but obviously that's more car based, whereas Vettel is just the person. So I'm both. Like, I'm not for or against either. Like, obviously it makes more sense to me to be supporting a team, because that's the team that's like working on this car, and that's where the technology is. But then also you've got the driver, who is the talent that's pushing that car. So it's hard to say. What about you?
I used to be a team, so I used to be staunchly, I'd go with the team. So I was in McLaren for a very long time, throughout the Alonso, Jensen, Hamilton, Checo era. The reason I kind of removed myself from supporting anyone really. So I'm neither team nor driver. I just kind of like root for. I like to.
What about Perez?
Yeah, Perez is a special case. Very special case.
Fine.
I root. That's what I'm saying. I root individually, maybe for like people to do well, and I'm such a like, a soft-hearted person. I just generally hate to see people doing badly. Like even Mazepin, like when he spins out, I'm like, oh, for heaven's sake, can you not just do well so that at least people don't have to take the mick out of you? Do you know what I mean? Like I genuinely just like to see people prosper at whatever they're doing, and that's just me in life in general. I like to see people doing well, and I like to help people figure out how they can do better at what they do, and that's how I am in life. And I think when it comes to Formula One, for me, the difficulty with staying with a team is sometimes teams do things that are very political. So like for McLaren, for example, they treated Checo so like awfully when he was there. And then there was like the whole Hamilton Alonso thing when that happened. And it just became for me very difficult to support them as a team, because they always made like really bad decisions internally. I could never support Red Bull for similar reasons. I just think that their kind of like morals are just bad. So Mercedes in that sense are probably the closest level to who I would want to support as a politically, but I don't want to support a team because of the political reasons or because they're doing well. So I just was like, yeah, I'm not going to support Mercedes. I'm not going to support anybody. I'm just here for the ride. I'm here to enjoy. And then again, similarly with the drivers, like I really like a driver, and then they'll do some shit, and I'm just like, oh, I can't like you anymore. So I don't know. I have like my faves as we've discussed over the last few videos and chats, but I don't particularly hone in on one driver. And the only team that I really particularly dislike are Red Bull. But I do think that like if you are able to kind of really champion a team, it's probably better than championing a driver, because drivers very rarely stay in F1 for lots of years. Do you know what I mean? Like you're very lucky if your driver survives 2-3 years in F1. So supporting a team is probably going to be safer, but it's not like football, is it? Like you just support a team and that's it. You're that team for life. Sometimes it becomes
Liverpool, by the way, everyone. Just
Liverpool. Okay.
Yeah, just so you know.
Yeah, family of Arsenal supporters here, so like don't even get me started on supporting a team for life.
Yeah, let's not even go down the football route, because that's a whole nother, like we need to start a whole new channel for that.
Literally. So yeah, I think team, go for a team and get behind them and stick with them through thick or thin, and that's what you have to do. Like if you're a Mercedes supporter, I don't want to see people jumping the bandwagon this year because they're doing badly. Like you've been a Mercedes supporter while they've been doing their 7 World Championships. You better still be a Mercedes supporter tomorrow if they lose. You know what I mean?
You've got to be like me and stick with Ferrari through the thick and the thin.
Yeah.
Like last year, honestly, do you know how bloody heartbreaking that season was for me? Hated it, absolutely hated it. Every single race, I think I cried.
Yeah.
It was not fun. But yeah, I don't know.
So yeah, I think what else have we got? We kind of just like scattered around the race. I'm sorry guys, today is a bit more of just a chit chat, isn't it? Looking forward really to next week to seeing what happens. Did we talk about Gasly and how well he's been doing, and then his bit of misfortune today?
We haven't discussed that, but we can discuss that if you want to.
Go for it.
Yeah. Fine.
Fine. Well, yeah, I was just going to say that, you know, so Gasly's been doing particularly well over the last few races. Even yesterday, he qualified in 6th place. And then obviously because he had that little bump with Leclerc, he ended up out of the race today.
Yeah, I mean, I was annoyed at that, but I feel like for some reason Leclerc wasn't very like spatially aware today of his car. Like, I don't think he knew how big the size of his car was or where he was putting it on the grid, because he did it with Gasly and then again with Raikkonen and then almost with Alonso. Like, too many close calls, and he was lucky that it didn't actually mess up his own race.
Yeah.
But yeah, shame for Gasly, because yeah, I mean, we could have seen probably potentially a really good race from him, but
I think generally the AlphaTauris are just doing really well. Like Tsunoda had quite a clean race today as well, didn't he?
Yeah, and for him to even finish in the points, I was quite surprised actually that he came home and took the last point. So yeah, you're right, they have been doing really well. But again, this is, you know, it's Red Bull, and Red Bull are good at this track. Yeah,
I think as well that all the team bonding that they've been doing off track's probably helping. Did you see Tsunoda? I wish I had pictures of it. We don't really do the thing where we put pictures up of what we're talking about, but if anybody hasn't seen it, go on like Red Bull's YouTube channel, and they did this thing in Austria, I guess because it's like the Red Bull ring, it's the home track, and they took Verstappen, Perez, Gasly, and Tsunoda like around Austria. So they had to get from the top of Austria to like the bottom of Austria, and they had to do these little challenges along the way. Verstappen cheated literally at nearly every single one, by the way. Can I just say that? Like, literally, he is so unsportsmanlike.
What does that say about him as a driver then?
Do you know what I'm saying? I'm just like, yo, could you not just play by the rules? Gasly, on the other hand, was like literally sticking to every single rule for the most part. He was very sweet. And Sonoda just looked like, why the hell am I here in these leading?
Have you seen him trying to play football?
Hmm.
Like there was like a little thing with him and Gasly where they were doing a little football thing by the Bull in Austria.
Yeah.
And it's just so funny because obviously Gasly is a really big football fan.
Mm.
Obviously, football's not as big in Japan, and Sonoda trying to play football was just the funniest thing. I was like, you clearly have no idea what you're doing.
I'm not gonna lie, I really enjoyed that content from Red Bull, and yeah, I was pretty surprised. But I actually didn't see the one of them playing football. I'm gonna have to go check it out.
So funny.
But I think whatever they're doing off the track to keep all of their spirits high, you've got Sonoda in that little Italian training camp, whatever he's in. So seems to be working.
Yeah.
Everything that they're doing. Let's see
Yeah.
if they can replicate these results next week.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm really interested to see how next week's going to turn out, to be honest. I think should be good, hopefully.
Yeah. I'm hoping it's not just like an exact repeat race.
I don't think it will be.
Something to happen that's like different.
Yeah, I reckon something will happen.
Yeah.
Just to give us a bit more excitement.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I think that pretty much sums up this week.
Yeah. Shall we do winner of the day, loser of the day?
Yep. You go first. I'm still thinking.
Okay. Winner of the day. I didn't even think about this. Usually I think about this beforehand. I'm gonna say Leclerc, even though he had those crashes and stuff, like he did, or sorry, not crashes, like little bumps. And he was playing bumper cars today, bumping everybody off the bloody road. But even though he did that, he went from 17th all the way to 6th. And just like his general pace and tenacity and overtaking, I thought that was pretty good. And it made the like midfield battles really interesting today. I think there was a lot of like overtaking going on in the midfield. So I thought he was good. Winner of the day for me, Leclerc. What about you?
I'm going to say Sainz, his teammate. I think Sainz did really well. Finished 6th. Again, I feel like he's kind of a bit what's the word? Under
the radar? That's probably not what you were looking for.
Underrated.
He's underrated.
And I think, yeah, he just did really well. Drove a good race today, brought home some decent points. I feel like he's just people kind of overlook him a little bit because of who his teammate is. And obviously I'm saying that as a big Leclerc fan, but yeah, I think Sainz drove pretty well today. He unlapped himself and then obviously was lapped again, but still, that's pretty impressive to unlap yourself.
Yeah.
Especially when you're unlapping yourself against Hamilton. So, really good pace from him. And yeah, my loser for the day, sadly, I'm going to say Ricciardo. It's just a shame. He's not really picking himself up like his teammates. So yeah, Ricciardo for me.
My loser of the day is going to have to be yeah, probably I don't think anybody else did really like badly, although Ocon actually didn't particularly perform today. I think I wouldn't say he lost out so much. Like I couldn't say that he did anything to lose. So yeah, maybe like Ocon, Ricardo, just not generally not performing to the standard of their closest rival, their teammates. So Alonso obviously did much better. He came 9th, whereas Ocon came 14th, and then similarly Norris came 5th, and Ricardo came 13th. So wow, big differences there.
Yeah, I know. It's sad. But we'll see what happens next week with the actual Austrian Grand Prix. Yeah. And then after that, in 2 weeks' time, we've got the British Grand Prix. And I'm very excited for that because we will both actually be there. So if any of you guys are actually going to the British Grand Prix, let us know. It's one of those government testing ones, so it's going to be full capacity, which I'm slightly nervous about. But yeah, if you're going to be there, let us know in the comments below, because it'll be quite interesting to maybe meet some of you or see some of you around.
Know you guys from YouTube, from your channel.
Yeah, cool. And if you see us, I feel like Silverstone's quite small and we're going to be there for the whole weekend, so you'll definitely end up seeing us at some point. And I always see the same people throughout the weekend, so yeah.
We'll be blogging and we'll be recording everything, so come up and say hi for sure. Other than that, you can catch us on our socials, so YouTube on the Chicane, Instagram and Twitter also on the Chicane, and make sure you follow, like, subscribe, do all that jazz, and also comment and get involved, because we want to talk to you, we want to know what you're thinking, and yeah, let us know.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll see you next time then.
Cool. See you next time. Bye.